A very fascinating thing is I feel like for us to really see something and to change our story. And when I say our story, it's not just how we think about something, it's how we are with something and the totality of our experience in our bodies, in our souls, in our minds too. To really see it has to get really bad. Really, 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 really bad.
Welcome to Deep Within. On this show, we dive deep into the nervous system, emotional healing, and transformation from within the body. When I started my personal development journey, it was all in the mind, doing affirmations, visualizations, listening to endless motivational videos. And I found that this approach, without actually getting my body on board, only left me in deeper shame and distress. So this is actually how I discovered somatic body-based healing. My name is Marina Yanai Treiner, and I am the Compassionate Somatic Coach. I'm gentle, sensitive, and I love deep conversations. I'm so excited and so glad you're here so we can feel like we're together in our own little bubble of deep talks.
This year was the most desperate year of my life. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. It was the hardest year of my life, and everything felt so hard. And you know that story of like everything is so hard? It gets really turned up for me when I'm having a really difficult time in external reality. Then internally, of course, everything feels hard, and then it like feeds on itself, and then I just keep saying everything's so hard. And I was running with that story. And there was a growing sense of desperation for things to be easy. A very fascinating thing is I feel like for us to really see something and to change our story. And when I say our story, it's not just how we think about something, it's how we are with something and the totality of our experience in our bodies, in our souls, in our minds too. To really see it has to get really bad. Really, 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 really bad. And this story of like everything is hard, that's my grandmother's story. That's not my story because everything was so hard in her life. Everything. She was born a little bit before the Holocaust. She was in a ghetto. When she was 4, it was liberated. And her mother died the next day. And she basically raised herself because her father was very old and incapable of being a father. She raised herself and she struggled her whole life. And I know that today, she feels like she did it for me. She feels like she created a life so that I could enjoy it. And for her, like I'm the reward of her life. And that story got passed down to me. One day, over a year ago, I woke up and I realized that I was my mother in so many ways, that I was living like my mother. And that was fucking terrifying because I never thought that I was similar to my mother. Even though I love her, I think she's incredible and kind and sweet and has so many beautiful aspects to her. My mother is very helpless. She allows her helplessness to take over her. And when I looked at my marriage, I was being my mother to a T. I remember the moment we were sitting and watching TV and eating this Costa Rican fruit that is in season during the winter here. And we were just watching TV. We were watching a show. And it was supposed to be fun, but it is what we did to avoid each other, to ignore each other, because being together was no longer fun or nourishing. And that's what my parents do. Even though on the surface, they seem like they love each other so much. I was fighting for that story. I was fighting for the story where I got to marry the man I love and I'm with him forever. And we sit on the couch and eat, snacks and watch TV so that we can avoid each other. But on the surface, I wanted it to seem like I was happy and I was in love and everything was good. And that's the story I was telling myself in my head. But really, I was making everything so difficult because I was fighting against truth. The truth was I wasn't happy anymore. The truth was this wasn't my person anymore. He was when we met, but he wasn't anymore. We evolved out of that. So when I saw that, I made the decision to leave a year ago, a little bit more now. And it was the hardest thing I've ever done. And everything became hard. Everything became hard because the way that my mom lives her life is that she pretends that my father is going to keep her safe and that he is her savior. And that's what I watched my whole life. And that's what I thought men were for. Men are there to make us feel safe. And I'm not talking about a place where men are protectors that can be really beautiful. I'm talking about outsourcing our sense of safety. Like, I don't know how to keep myself safe in the world without a man. And this is like very basic and very deep. It's not just, oh, my partner deals with car stuff, It's so much deeper than that. It's like I literally walk around in the world feeling safe because I have a partner. That's how my grandma survived with my grandfather, who was a beautiful grandfather, but honestly a terrible husband. Like, he didn't do much. He didn't do anything for my grandma. He didn't do anything in the house. And my dad's the same, like, this is the story that we carried. And I outsourced my sense of safety to this idea that, oh, okay, but I have a partner, so I'm okay. And this is how women have done it in my family, in my lineage. And then I realized, like, can I feel safe in another way? And everything broke down, you guys, like everything. My God, everything. I couldn't make money. I literally couldn't make money because I was exhausted from pretending for a lifetime of pretending that I was happy when I wasn't. So I couldn't bring in clients because I had no energy. And I wanted a new partner to replace the old one. And I had this whole story that, like, I can do it really fast. And I had 2 heartbreaks that were really sad and that were really like, fuck, but I thought that I did the thing. I thought that I did the brave thing and I left. And now I can finally have my person. And that failed. And basically, like, every sense of safety that I would cling to was gone. Like, I had nothing. And in that nothingness, I spent days and days and days ending my day sitting in my house where I lived by myself in the jungle, very few people around, no people that I was close to around, me and my dog on the porch crying. That's how my day would end. And in that, I know people say that all the time, and I'm just like, fuck off. When I would hear this, I'm like, whatever, I roll to you. I found myself. I really did, because I know that I had to go through that shit to actually see, like, oh my God, but like, I have safety inside and it's unshakable. Because I remember when people would say, safety is unshakable, like, it's inside of you and nothing determines it. It's just something that you have and that you hold within yourself when you have your own back and when you trust yourself to walk out of situations that are really shitty, for example. And I was just like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, no, like, money determines my safety. Having a man determines my safety. And like, yeah, we live in the real world and we need money and we need family and we need community. Like, we would literally die without those things probably, right? But when we go into that clinging mode, this is where we lose our power and we outsource our safety so big. And clinging mode is something that I'm very intimately familiar with. So I wanted to make an episode on it because I wrote a post on it and so many of you resonated so deeply that we cling and we become very desperate for something that we want and we obsess over it and it becomes like the goal. And that happens when we go into a child state. Because again, yeah, like, we need money to survive. It's true. I mean, Also, like, I fell in love with a homeless man that had no money this year, and he survived, just by the way, interestingly. And I remember when he told me, and if you guys haven't listened, I made a whole episode of that story. It's worth listening to. It's a very fascinating story. But I remember when he told me, like, I don't need anything, like, I'm here, I'm eating, I'm surviving, I don't need much. And I was like, this is so crazy. Like, this is such a crazy lesson for me to kind of observe that. That man taught me so much, my God. But anyways, I won't go into that now. And so, yeah, like, we need those things, kind of. But at the same time, as adults, we have the power to figure shit out. Like, even when we run out of money, we can ask for help. We can borrow money. We can go look for a job. Like, we can do different things to get money, right? When we go into that clinging mode, and the clinging is like, if I don't have money, I'm going to die. Like, I'm going to cease to exist. That's the clinging mode. When we go into that state, we are going into a freeze response. So let me be heady for a second with you and tell you about the nervous system. Helplessness is tied to a freeze response. And when we go into freeze, we can't function, right? Because freeze is a state in our bodies and our nervous systems when we're under such severe threat that we tried to fight or flee and we couldn't. And so we went into a total shutdown. And it's also called preparation for death. So think about an animal that is being hunted and it survives, but the what is it called? It's prey, the other guy. Let's say it's a lion and an antelope, okay? This is where my brain is at. Okay, so let's say the lion is there and the antelope is like, oh my God, I'm going to die, and I can't run away and I can't fight. And it just feigns its own death. So it goes limp and it goes helpless and it just like kind of surrenders, right? Pretending to be dead. Because then, number one, the chance of death is lower, actually. And number two, even if the lion eats the antelope, it's going to hurt, like literally hurt less, because the antelope is numb, like it feels nothing. So I hope that makes sense to you. I think it's a really beautiful way of understanding that when we are in a helpless state, we're in a freeze state. So obviously we feel like we're helpless and we can't do anything, right? We can't come out of the situation. We can't make money. We're not creative. We're not like, let me look for a solution. And part of it is a childlike regression, right? It's going into a childlike state. And when I think about my grandmother, she never had a childhood. So, of course, her whole life, she wanted to go into a childlike state to finally get the childhood that she deserved and never had. And it makes so much sense. And that got passed down to me. And even though I was never one of those women in a marriage that like totally lost herself, didn't know who she was anymore and all of that, there was a deep layer of like, again, like my husband is meant to rescue me. Like I wouldn't say that to you if you asked me. I wouldn't be like, this is the role of my husband and I'm outsourcing my safety. But now looking back, like I totally see myself doing that. And a huge part of it too was that my ex-husband was very emotionally unavailable. And I craved this emotional connection so badly that I never received in my entire life from a man, including my father, of course. And so I would go into helplessness to activate him because his emotional unavailability also comes from a freeze state. And when I would go into my freeze state, he would be activated to rescue me. And that's when I would get any semblance of connection. So that's really interesting and painful. It was very painful to like actually see like, fuck, I was literally enacting helplessness so that my husband would rescue me. And it's so important for me to see this because I don't want to repeat that pattern, you know? So yes, we go into a childlike state, we go into a freeze state, and a child that her whole life did not receive connection, was not seen, was not able to be a child because she had to grow up quickly, like that was me emotionally. That child grows up to be an adult that always wants to be a child because I missed out on that part, you know? So that's the clinging. So I spent the entire last year after getting divorced where I thought like, okay, well, I did the thing, the scariest thing ever. I got divorced and now I should just be rewarded, like I should make all this money and meet an amazing man and just like everything will magically work out. And I'm not going to lie, like there were cool things that magically worked out, like my house that I'm living in now that I love so much, that totally came to me magically with very little effort. And that was beautiful. But the things like my biggest triggers, which is money and men, hands down, those things were so challenging. Like for a whole year, they continued to be challenging again and again and again and again and again. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, am I not supposed to be rewarded for my courage? Okay. Which is also like silly because our society just expects people after they have a near-death experience, after they had a divorce, after they had a baby, to just spring back, just come back into life. It doesn't work that way. There's a period of mourning and grieving and just so much that we have to go through to connect back to ourselves, to remember ourselves, to heal, to learn the lessons. I'm continuing to learn lessons now. And so here's something that I want to share with you that might speed up the process. It's still going to be shit. I'm not going to lie. Like this year was shit. And I know that next time I have a really hard like life circumstance, it's going to be easier because my body's going to remember, oh, you made it through that, But it's still going to be hard. Like there are ups and downs in this lifetime. But here's like a really cool thing I learned this year that I think will help you. It's about anger. So anger is literally the antidote to a freeze response. Not just anger. I think every emotion, but anger is a very activating emotion. And part of the reason we go into freeze is actually emotional suppression. So it takes a lot of energy to suppress our emotions. And when we do this, we're basically like using up all this energy to suppress ourselves. When we suppress an emotion, we're suppressing a lot. Like it's not just like, oh, I'm not going to feel this anger. It's okay. We're suppressing ourselves in our totality. For example, we suppress our immune system. So people who chronically suppress their emotions also suppress their immune system. And they often end up having illnesses like immune illnesses, for example, cancer, right? There's a lot of research on this. And so anger is a very activating emotion. And somebody commented on a post I did about this, like, well, I go into anger and then I lose the anger and then I shut down again and I just can't function again. And I thought that was really important to talk about because if you have had really negative experiences of anger as a child, like you watched your parents just explode, for example, or suppress their anger, or they would yell at you when you would get angry, like you weren't allowed to show your anger, you'd get punished or whatever, you struggle with anger. Anger is scary for you. So naturally, you're going to suppress your anger, right? It's going to feel like a threat when you feel angry. And even in your mind, you're going to be like, being angry is bad. It's like, it's dual things going on. It's not just in your body that feels like a threat response whenever anger is actually experienced. Also, your brain is like, this isn't okay. It's not allowed. And even when your brain gets on board with me right now on the idea that anger is actually so good and it's going to move you forward, if your body is still in that threat response about anger, you're not going to be able to feel your anger. So what's going to happen? You're going to be in situations that are difficult where you're doing this clinging thing. You feel desperate. You feel urgency. Maybe it's like me with men or money or partners or whatever it is. Any goal that you have, any desire that you have, you're going to feel really attached and clinging to it. You're going to go into a childlike state. Anger will come up. Anger will be there saying, I want this, right? Like children, when they want something, when they're clinging to something, birthday temper tantrum, right? Like it's very natural. So naturally, we're going to go into a temper tantrum inside. But then that part of us that has experienced anger being bad is going to get triggered. And it's going to be like, oh shit, like I can't feel this anger. So then we're going to shut down the anger and we're going to go back into a freeze state. And from a freeze state, we cannot get what we want. We are in a freeze. We cannot have our goal. And it just feeds the cycle again and again and again. Clinging, anger shows up, shutting down the anger, freeze state. I don't get what I want. Damn it, I feel helpless again. And everything starts again. Okay? So, how the heck do we work with this? I mean, I feel kind of brilliant for mapping this out for you. I think that's a pretty cool mapping that's come to me. And I have to tell you actually how it came to me because it's kind of funny. It's kind of interesting. I was in a circle with other women, and one of the women got triggered by me. And for me, when people get triggered by me, it's very, very, very triggering. It's actually one of my biggest triggers because my father would get very, very triggered by me and would explode talking about anger. And so, but she shared it with me in a very calm, nice way. And the things she said were not bad or wrong. It just was her experience about something that I said. And I disagreed with her. And I felt anger for a split second about what she said. But I felt like I wasn't allowed to because she didn't do anything wrong, right? So I shut down my anger. I totally people pleased. And I was like having this fake smile on my face and answering to her with this fakeness and like fake polite kind of thing. And for days and days and days, I'm like ruminating about this thing that happened, like this interaction. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, why am I still ruminating? She didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. Let's move on, you know? But then I realized like, oh my God, she did not do anything wrong. That's true. But I couldn't feel my body. My body felt numb. Like I literally felt nothing in my body in that interaction. What the heck is that? Oh, I went into a freeze response, a people pleaser response, fawn, people pleasing, freeze. It is a response that looks on the surface like you're activated because you're still interacting and talking and kind of trying to please the other person, right? But inside, you feel numb and like you feel trapped and you can't express yourself and you don't feel anything. You're in freeze. And it was just so eye-opening because I was like, I can be angry even though she didn't do anything wrong. Like, my anger is mine and I can still feel it and I don't have to be mean about it. But if I speak from my anger, I sound very different. I come out very different and I actually express my true self because my true self wanted to speak with more confidence, wanted to speak with more conviction, like how I'm speaking now to you guys. And it doesn't mean it, like, I think I would sound like I sound right now. Like I wouldn't be mean or anything, but there's just like such deep fear because my father would explode when I was a kid, like all the time. And so I don't want to be like him. I don't want to hurt people. And that was so eye-opening for me to see. So if you feel like you often find yourself in this clinging situation or desperation, the pathway through that is anger. And it's really, and that's one of the steps. There's many things that we can do around that. But connecting to your anger about not getting what you want is going to activate you into getting what you want, which is really interesting. And it's going to get you out of a freeze state. And it's going to also make you feel a sense of confidence, aliveness, and capacity and capability. It's going to make you feel like, oh my God, I want this thing. I deserve this thing. I am angry that I'm not getting this person, this thing, whatever. And it's just going to wake you up, right? Instead of going into helplessness. It's going to move you out of being a helpless child into your adult state because you're going to allow the child to come out. You're going to allow the child to get pissed off and angry and express that anger. And this is one of my favorite things to work on with clients because, again, I had to learn to do it. And like learning to express these things and to feel them with a safe person is so healing. And so if you want to work on this and if you want support on this, I have an amazing way to work with me that I'm so excited about. It's a 3-month experience where we do voice notes to each other. So you can voice note me every day as much as you want. And I respond to you with practices, with support, with advice, with mentoring, with coaching, all the tools. And then we have 3 sessions. Once a month, we have a session. So the info for that is going to be in the show notes. It's such an amazing way to work together. And I love it because it's consistent support. So not only do we have a session, we have that consistent interaction and support where you can share your triggers. You can share, oh, my body felt like this. This is what's coming up for me. And I can help you move through it, not just by thinking, but through practices, through ways of being with it in a new way. So it's very exciting. Check it out. Thank you for listening. I've missed solo episodes. It's been a while, but it feels really good to be back. And I can't wait to see you or, be in the listening space with you very, very soon again. I love you.
Thank you so much for joining me and listening to this episode. If you liked it, please make sure to leave me a review so that more beautiful humans can get to this podcast, and subscribe to the show. And please do share it with a friend who would benefit. And I always love to hear from all of you on Instagram, so visit me there at marina.y.t. I share really awesome content and would love to hear your comments about the episodes. Until next time, I love you so much and I appreciate you. Have the most beautiful day.